Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial by Zebra Code. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how to download, install, and use the AWS command line interface or the AWS CLI. First, let's look at what AWS CLI is. What exactly is the AWS CLI? Well, according to their website, this is an interface tool that allows one to manage all AWS services. With this tool installed and configured on our computer, we can manage multiple AWS services from the command line. We can use the command line to run some commands and automate some scripts through the CLI. So we will perform some tasks here in the process of installing the AWS CLI tool on our Windows platform. The process is the same for other platforms, but we will specifically be installing it on the Windows platform in this video. To download the AWS CLI, you can do a Google search for install AWS CLI or download AWS CLI, and some results will come up. This link will be one of the results that will come up on your Google search. Let's look at both Google search for AWS CLI download and also by following this link to their official website. Open your web browser and go to Google. On Google, type in install AWS CLI or download AWS CLI and hit enter. You will get some results that will look like this. Click on any of the top links to go to their website. But for me, I will follow this link to get to their official website. By following the link in the previous slide, I am now on their official website. If you follow Google search, you will also arrive at this web page. Here it says install or update the latest version of the AWS CLI. Now let's scroll down. Here it says AWS CLI install and update instructions. For installation instructions, expand the session for your operating system. If you are on Linux, use this. If you are on Mac OS, you use this. And if you are on Windows, you can use this. I am on Windows. Now I will click on this to expand it. And scroll down. Here it says install or update the AWS CLI. And here it says download and run the AWS CLI MSI installer for Windows 64-bit. So it is an MSI file and we will download it. Click on this link here. It is downloading. Great, it has finished downloading. Now let's look for it in where it was downloaded to on our system. I will click on show in folder. Here it shows that it was downloaded to my downloads folder. Find out where yours was downloaded to on your computer. It is a .msr file, and now I will double click on it to install it. It is preparing to install. Now this wizard will pop up. Click on next. Scroll down and read the license agreement. Then click I accept the terms in the license agreement and click next. Here it shows the amount of space that it requires on your hard drive, and it shows here the location that it is going to install it in on my machine. It's going to be in C program files, Amazon, and this is the AWS CLI version, which is version 2. Now click next, click install. It will take a few minutes. Be patient. Great. Now it has completed the installation process. AWS Command Line Interface version 2 has been installed on our computer successfully. Now click Finish. Now I will minimize this. Now on this same page where we downloaded it from, here on the left hand side there are some AWS related topics. I will minimize this one for the get started. Here it says configure the AWS CLI. Here it says authentication and access credentials. Here use the AWS CLI. Here it says code example and so on. If you want to uninstall it, here it shows how to uninstall it. In this case, we are not uninstalling it because we have only just installed it, and we installed it for a reason. The next thing now is for us to confirm whether the AWS CLI was installed successfully. To do that, let's open the CMD command prompt. Now type in AWS space -- version, AWS space -- version, hit enter. Great. It shows that we have got this version of AWS installed on our computer. If you can see this line, it means the installation was successful and now you have a version of the AWS CLI installed on your computer. So this is how you install the AWS CLI on a Windows platform. The next thing will be for us to configure and set authentication with credentials. Alright, now that we have the AWS CLI installed on our computer, we can run some commands. We can also configure our AWS CLI so that it can interact with the Amazon Web Service platform. First, let's use the AWS CLI help command. That will be AWS space -- help. Hit enter. Great. It shows several commands here that we can run through the interface. If you want to see more, you hit enter and it will bring more options. To get out of this command, press Ctrl+C. Great. The next thing for us to do now is to configure AWS. Let me move this to the right a bit. And here it says configure the AWS CLI. So the next thing for us to do now is to configure our AWS CLI so that it can interact with the Amazon Web Service platform. For us to configure the AWS CLI, we would need to log into our aws.amazon.com account so that we can create a user, an IAM user, then add some credentials to our account. To do that, let's go to our aws.amazon.com account. I will minimize this. Now, I will log into my aws.amazon.com account. You can click on log back in or sign into the console here. I'll click on log back in. Now I am going to log in as a root user and create an IAM user. Great. I am logged in, and this is how my console looks at the moment. So on your console home, you may find IAM there if you have used it before. If not, you can type in here IAM, and it will bring up this page. Click on IAM, and the IAM dashboard will open. Here we are going to create a new user. On this left hand side, it says access management, user group, users, roles, policies, identity providers, account settings, and so on. Here in the middle of the page, it says IAM resources. We have here the same thing that we have here. So now I'm going to click on users, create user, and I will enter the username. I will enter here demo _2. This is my user. It says here provide access user to the AWS management console. Optional, I will leave this one as it is. I click next. Add user to group. Copy permissions. I will click on attach policies directly. Now scroll down. For this user, I will give it the administrator access permission. Scroll down. Set permission boundary optional. You can click on it or leave it as it is. For now, I will just click next. And click create user. Great. It says here user created successfully, my demo 2. Now you can view user here, or you double click on it here. You double click on it. And now we are going to create access key permission. And here it says create access key. Click on it. And here it says access key best practices and alternatives. Use case, click on command line interface, CLI, click on this one. Then click confirmation here, tick this box and click next. You can give it a description here if you want. For now, I will leave it as it is and click create access key. So we need to copy the secret access key and access key, because once you leave this page, you will not be able to see it again. First, I will copy the access key. Click on this. It says access key copied. I have copied it and I will paste it somewhere in Notepad or somewhere you know that you can always find it. Now I'll go and copy the second one. Secret access key. Also, you can show it or just copy it. I'll copy it. And now it says secret access key copied. I will also go and paste it in Notepad. Save it. Minimize this. And for the access key, you can also download it here. Click on download.csv file. Great, it was downloaded as a .csv file. You can open it in Excel later on. And now click done. Now it shows my demo _2. This is the new user we have just created. You can also click here on users to find it. So now that we have created a user and we have been able to create access key and secret access key, we can now go to the CMD command line to configure the AWS CLI. Open this. This time, let's enter the command AWS space -- configure hit enter. Great. Now it is asking for the AWS access key ID. Let's look for it in where we saved it. This is my AWS access ID. I will copy it and paste it here and hit enter. Now it is asking for the AWS secret access key. I will copy this one too. I will paste it here and hit enter. Now it is asking me for the region. You need to find out the region that you are in, or the one that is closer to you. If I go back here, click on global. So you can select whichever one that is closer to you. In my case, I will just select the first one here, US-East-1. Copy it. Once again, find whichever one that is closer to you. Now open this one again. Now we'll paste it. So for the region, I am using US-East-1. Hit enter. And here it says default output format. There are so many different formats for that. The default option is JSON, JSON. I will hit enter. Great. Now we have configured our AWS CLI successfully. Great. All right. Now we have installed the AWS CLI tool. We have configured it. We can now start using some commands to interact with the aws.amazon.com platform. To test our AWS CLI, there are different ways to do that. We can use the AWS S3api for that. Now let's test it with the AWS S3api. Now let's use the command AWS S3api space help. AWS space S3api space help. Hit enter. Great. Now it shows available commands for the S3api. There are very many. You can scroll down. Let's move this up a bit. Now let's scroll down. To see more, hit enter. And it will show you more commands that are available with the S3api. I will press Ctrl+C to return. Okay, now I have pressed Ctrl+C so that I can enter some commands. And before we start running some commands, once again, let me quickly explain to you that we can use the AWS S3api to create a bucket using the AWS CLI. There are several AWS S3api commands that we can use or we can run through the AWS CLI. To see the available commands, we have run this AWS S3api command. For example, by running the AWS S3api help command, we have seen that there are so many commands that we can use with it. We will not be able to use all of them in this video, but just to test it, we will run a few commands. Now, let's create an S3 bucket. We will use this command to do that. AWS space S3api. Let me move this one up a bit. Okay. AWS space S3api. Create space bucket space dash bucket space. I will give it a name. In this case, I will call it my demo work space dash. We need to enter a region. First, say region. I will use the default region there, which is US dash east dash 1. Once again, with this command, we are going to use the S3 API to create a bucket, and the name of the bucket is my demo work. The region is set to US East 1. Now I will hit enter. Great, it was successful. And here now it shows location, and here we have the name of our bucket, my demo work, which is what we specified in here. Now let's go to our aws.amazon.com console to check it, to see if this bucket has been created or not. Click here. Now I will click on S3. Now let's check the list of buckets that I have here. Exactly. Here we have my demo, work bucket created for us. Let's bring back the command line again. With this command, we get this output. We can also run a command that looks similar to the first one, with an output that shows the bucket as a subdomain in the Amazon AWS.com. What does that mean? That command will create a bucket outside of the US East 1 region. A region outside of US East required an appropriate location constraint to be specified. So let's run that command. Okay, now I will enter a new AWS CLI command using the S3 API, and this one will give us a different location. AWS space S3 API space create dash bucket dash bucket. Now let's give our bucket a name, my overseas products. So the name of our bucket will be my dash overseas dash products space dash region. I will enter here now EU dash west dash 1. EU dash west dash 1 space dash create dash bucket dash configuration space location constraint equals EU dash west dash 1. So the name of our bucket will be my dash overseas dash products. Now we hit enter. Great. Now it shows the location, and it is http:// my overseas products.s3.amazonaws.com, which is different from the first one we did. Now two things we can do here quickly. One, let's go in here to check this bucket. I will refresh the page. Now let's scroll down. Exactly, it shows here my overseas products, and this is the region, Europe, Ireland, EU West 1. This is the new bucket we have just created now, and this is the first one that we created before. So the second thing now is, let's go back to our command line. The second thing we are going to print out now is to list all the buckets in our S3. To do that, we say AWS space S3 space ls. AWS S3 ls, hit enter. Great. It shows here now we have my demo work, my overseas product. So these are the buckets that I have currently in my S3. They are exactly the same as what we saw here. So this video was to show you how to download and install the AWS CLI on Windows, how to configure the AWS CLI once we have installed it, and how to run some AWS CLI commands. We use the S3 service as an example in this tutorial. In my next video, we will do more with the AWS CLI tool. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye for now.